Today, this government is not doing the diagnosis properly. What is unfortunate is that the chief economic advisors who have been coming in and going without looking into the real statistics, they are coming out with certain figures and they are always in a celebratory mode. See, if you are a doctor, you have to first do all kind of tests to diagnose what is the problem. Here, they are not looking at that diagnosis part at all. There are enough number of articles, reports, including RBI's own statistics. If they look at the RBI data, which is this basic statistical data, which is published every year, if they go back to the past records, they will know what is the reality. Now, what is happening is that without looking at all that, they are seeing only certain positives. They say that NPA has come down, the profit has gone up, deposit and advances have grown. Fine. This, they should also know that there has been always a cycle in this country. What happens is that the NPA increases, government infuses some fund, write-offs take place, fresh loans are given. So fresh loans will become NPA only after 1 or 2 years. So after a few years, again the NPA increases. Then once again you start writing off. The banks go into a loss. We have seen that even State Bank of India went into a loss before a few years. But then again, the cycle restarts. Fresh advances, fresh loans, so interest earning, less NPA, huge profit, again then this will go back to that cycle. That this government has not been looking into. This is one major problem. Second is the National Company Law Tribunals created through the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code. At least let these Babus and chief economic advisors sitting in the ministry look at the figures published by the NCLT itself. Let them have a look at the Parliamentary Committee on Finance, what report they have brought in. They have clearly stated that the NPA recovery is not taking place, more of write-off is taking place. And there is a coalition between the lenders and the resolution professionals who are chartered accountants and retired bank officers. Many of them have been banned also. In spite of that, this government is the government is coming and saying that no, NPA has gone down. What has been the total write-off in last 9 years alone? As per their own data presented to the parliament, it is 12.5 lakh crores. It's not a small amount. And one example is in the NCLT recovery proceeding. Anil Ambani's company, Reliance Communication, with an outstanding of 49,000 crores, was handed over to a company which is actually a Mukesh Ambani's company. The recovery is less than 1%. Just 0.92% of the amount outstanding was recovered. And how do you say that the NCLT is performing well? So you are living in an illusion. More importantly, one more thing they have ignored is, nowadays this government talks about Raghuram Rajan's period of asset quality review and all. But it is during that period, the RBI board took a decision. Circular was issued that no corporate will be given more than 10,000 crores from the banking industry as a whole. A ceiling was brought in. A time frame of 3 years was given. That has not been implemented at all. Unless that is done, there is going to be a lopsided growth. Today, whatever credit growth is taking place, it is more into the corporate sector. The rich people are getting more loan, and they are the ones whose loans are also written off. The last point I would like to say in this that as per the 2024 RBI data, 449 companies have been given loans at the rate less than 5%. The loans are above 100 crores. You give them at less than 4%, whereas you are not giving adequate interest to the depositors. This is the most dangerous thing happening. This has to be rectified immediately. In the budget, there has to be a ceiling of this loan of 10,000 crores announced. And this madam also has to say that the banks will concentrate more on the depositors also. In the depositors case, what I want to say specifically is that savings bank from 5%, it has come down to 2.5%. Fixed deposit rate from 18%, it has come to 6.5%. Without them, the banking system cannot run. So they have to be taken care of. So the interest rate has to be increased for the mainly the small depositors who are depositing the money in the bank. They have to be taken care of. The micro, small and medium enterprises are the ones who actually generate employment in this country. They have to be given more attention. But what actually is happening is most of them are dependent on non-banking financial companies for loans. This government changed the norms for MSMEs, because of which a company with 250 crore turnover is also considered as a small enterprise. So within the MSME sector, again, it is the richer ones who are getting the bank loans, and the smaller ones, they are forced to go towards the non-banking financial companies. See, the non-banking financial companies, they take loans from the bank and they are lending to the borrower at a much higher rate of interest. See, the MSME, if he gets direct loan from the bank, they will be able to get the credit at 11%. Whereas when they take it from the non-banking financial companies, they charge 24%, 36%. And also the small finance banks are also now financing MSMEs a lot. If you see the overall credit, the Mudra loan, they are talking about, only 30% is given by the public sector banks. The rest of the 70% has been given through the non-banking financial companies, small finance banks and others. Here, there are three things. Number one, so far, the figures what they are giving, 54 crore people given loan, that's impossible. There has been disputes raised because if there are 54 crore people who have been entrepreneurs in these last 10 years, we won't have place to walk. Everywhere there will be one enterprise or other, and there are only 23 crore households. So each household would have got more than 2 loans, which is not true. Banks, what they have done, existing loans they have closed and converted and sanctioned as a new loan under the Mudra scheme. That is one thing. Second is 73% of these loans are under the Shishu category, which is less than 50,000. Now, with less than 50,000, what kind of small entrepreneur can survive in this country? You have to think. The third is that now they have increased to 20 lakhs. So the 10 lakh category itself, hardly 7% had got the loan. Now, some of them might get even 20 lakhs. fine. But these loans are today politically utilized. There are many reports which shows that the political leaders from the ruling party, they are sending recommendations, they are going coercing the branch managers that this is PM's loan, प्रधानमंत्री तब देता है, आप लोग क्यों मना करता है? This was done by Suresh Gopi in Kerala also. And ultimately, they are also telling the borrowers that you don't have to repay, this is Modiji's gift. So this is going to lead to a huge NPA. Already one of the deputy governors of RBI in a speech has warned the banks that there is an increasing trend in NPA among the Mudra loans. So the banks have to be careful. So what actually need is a separate MSME scheme under which I would propose that earlier we had one scheme called Integrated Rural Development Program. A similar program, maybe IRDP 2 can be announced, which will really cater to the small borrowers. I would like the finance minister to address few things. Number one, for once you write off the small credits given to the farmers, to the small farmers less than 2 lakhs. By writing off, that amount will be very meager when you compare to the 12.5 lakh crores written off for the corporates. That will give an impetus to the rural economy because now they are not getting fresh credit. Their account is only renewed. The Kisan credit card number increases and the amount increases. That is only by renewal of interest, nothing more. So one write-off will benefit the entire nation. Secondly, the branches of rural branches of public sector banks are getting reduced. After this merger of banks from 28 to 12, this has happened in a very fast manner. So there is a need for increasing rural branches, open specialized SME branches and agriculture development branches. That only can revive the economy. Otherwise, this illusion of the economy doing well, it is going to get into a problem very soon. The third thing is that the staff strength in the public sector banks. Madam has stated that we have recruited 3.4 lakh people in 10 years. But the actual figure is that 2014 to 2024, the public sector bank employee strength has come down from 8.6 lakhs to 7.4 lakhs. That has been the net after the retirement. So there is a need for doubling the number of staff. That will also ensure that reservation policy is applied and people get a job into the banking sector. And stop funding to non-banking financial companies by the banks. Let them mobilize their own funds. Let them collect deposits. Why public sector banks should be asked to give loans to them and they will charge higher rate of interest? And stop this model called the co-lending model in which Adani Capital has entered into an agreement with State Bank of India. There are many such cases where they become an intermediary and they charge higher interest. They also cheat people and people may not give back the loans. And the focus has to be on small credit. There are enough number of data to show that small credit is going down, and if that is not reversed, it's going to affect the country at large. And the priority sector lending certificates and giving funds to the Rural Infrastructure Development Fund to meet the 40% target on the priority sector lending has to be stopped. It has to be actual lending. Real borrowers have to be given loans and not this kind of intermediaries. Lastly, I would say that the self-help groups, Madam is very proud of saying that we have given them how much of loan. Their loan is also increased to 20 lakhs per SHE if they are eligible. And they are called Lakpati Didis. One that itself is wrong. By borrowing 1 lakh rupee, you don't become a lakhpati. Secondly, these groups are being now given more credit, which they are not able to use for a constructive activity. So that has to be looked into, and there is a need for a creation of a microfinance bank. The earlier we had a Mahila bank, women's bank, that was closed down by this government. With focus on microcredit, if there are microfinance banks created at every district level, that can bring in a great change. Thank you very much.